everybody here. I apologize. I didn't look at some of the names on the sheet outside, so I have some names. I don't know the exact format. I think I'm going to share some thoughts with you all, and then just open it up for conversation and discussion. I think that's what the format is. So first off, thank you again. I know it's a rainy day. Everyone's got very busy lives, but for you to take the time to spend with us is very important. I'm excited because I'm here in the Philippines to support the member education, the wellness tour that's happening, and I'll be speaking with our members tomorrow. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I think the focus, many of you I think are very familiar with Herbalife Nutrition and have been a part of other speakers who've come, so you're very familiar with it. For the focus with the members this time around my perspective is really twin things. One is just highlighting and educating on all the effort that goes into the quality of the products and why that matters. We're giving it a name around cellular science in the sense of that there's a lot of quality and science that goes into the very basic building block of identification in quality, which is at the cellular level, which sells the building block of our bodies, of any living organism. So we talk about the quality and the science that goes in our products. And then we're also going to be talking about really how education is a critical part of what we are doing, but education is and the quality of the product has to move beyond just the knowledge, but the ability to transfer that knowledge to the customer, to the individual who is seeking certain life goals around their health and well-being. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about how does that happen and how we can be more effective and why it's so powerful that we have individuals like themselves in communities supporting the health and well-being of individuals. So those are really the two main areas we're going to be focusing on. So with that, I can share a few slides with you all, and it's difficult. So let me stand. Is that okay? Is that all right? I stand. Are you going to be running the slides for me? So this is the obligatory slide that you probably shared a little bit about my background. I just may tell you a little bit about the person that's here talking with you all. I think what's most important is not the credentials. I'm a big fan of the saying by Teddy Roosevelt who said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that speaks volumes to the fact that you all are involved in talking about lifestyle, right? That's what my understanding is. And we have to recognize that we know certain things, but that knowing of certain things doesn't always translate to the doing of certain things. The doing of certain things is a difficult process. There's a lot of barriers for us, right? We have the barrier of economics. We have the barrier of old ingrained habits. We have the barrier of fear. We have lots of reasons why we don't adopt the lifestyle that we know is healthier for us. Now, our nutrition is a critical part of that, and that's probably the one where there's a lot of education that's needed, but there's also a lot of support around and that support comes in the form of individuals who can support you and the community. So that's why I say people don't care how much you know, because the knowing isn't as important as the doing, and the doing comes from a relationship. And that's why that's kind of the motto in which I live by. But there is the requisite stuff about me and my background, and I'm happy to explore any of that as we have questions from you all. Next slide. So what we talk about when we talk about science at the cellular level, and why is that? Really what we are talking about first and foremost is the importance of understanding that quality matters a lot, and quality is not always easily able to be measured. And so when we think about what we have invested as an organization to ensure the quality of our products, it's not always true that products on the marketplace have a lot of the same level of rigorous testing. My job is not to compare us with others. My job is only to explain how serious we take this and the steps we've been doing to support the quality of our products. If you go to the next slide, please. So if we, next one. And it starts with ingredients that are phenomenal and that meet a specific need. So one of the things we're going to be talking about in the opportunity we have at the Member Development Weekend is that we want to meet a specific nutrient gap, a need. And we have received an imbalance over time in our nutritional needs. There are a lot of hidden things in our foods that we don't think about. I'll give you a perfect example. I was flying over here and they serve tofu. Now tofu is great, right? It's got soybean in it, it's got good protein source, but they deep fried it before they served it to me. And so I'm thinking, oh, tofu's great, but then they deep fried it. Now, deep frying it has all sorts of implications. It adds fats, saturated fats. It adds omega-6s, which I will go much more detail tomorrow than I will here. But there's an imbalance that begins to happen, and we do not know that the foods we eat, even the food you ate before you were here, who knows? I'm not going to say anything negative about the food you ate, but what I'm saying is that we don't necessarily know what is to the same level of assurance that we used to. It was once upon a time when we took the raw vegetable and we cooked the food, we knew, but we have a environment where we are constantly consuming things that we did not make, and we didn't understand where it was grown from. And so there needs to be a certain level of quality and assurance. And so since we do make the product, we have a responsibility to make sure that it's of high quality. And that's why our nutrition-based science identifies what are the nutrient gaps that exist, and how do we comprehensively address those gaps. We actually have a philosophy called the Global Nutrition Philosophy that looks at these nutrients holistically. And that goes to the macronutrients, which is the sources of energy like protein, carbohydrates, and fats. It looks at the phytonutrients, or the nutrients that come from plants. It looks at the micronutrients, this is the vitamins and the minerals. It looks at the role of fiber in our digestive health, but also our microbiome. It looks at the role of hydration in our health and well-being. And then our healthy active lifestyle, that's a big part of it, and our sleep, that's a big part of it. And it's all interrelated. So that's why it's a nutrition based on science. And then we do a lot of testing. A lot of testing that is very expensive for other companies to do, that we in fact do. And then we manufacture it. We have a significant percentage. The majority of the products that are produced by Herbalife Nutrition are produced in-house through our own processes. And then we once upon a time did all of our quality testing, portion of our quality testing by others. We now do that all in-house. We've actually have the material to make sure that the quality is there and, through the testing. So let's go to the next slide. And this even goes to what I consider almost would be considered world-class in the level of expertise in certain fields. We have over 400 individuals on staff focused on 300 to 400 people on staff just on looking at various parts of our quality system. We have over 12 scientists dedicated in the botanical areas. You know, when you try to extract a particular nutrient from a particular leaf or a plant that's called a phytonutrient. It's a plant-based nutrient, but you want to make sure that that extraction actually gets to the product. That takes a lot of effort and science to make sure that that process is done well. So we have a rigorous testing method around the botanicals. And the next slide. And just give you some real world examples. We talk about soy because it is a great source of protein, and we want to make sure, because protein's so critical in the macronutrient arena, we do a lot of effort in looking at the quality of the protein. Many people don't know that protein is actually scored based on its digestibility and the ability to provide the essential, or the ones that are not created by our bodies. There's 9 essential amino acids. And these essential, meaning you have to consume them to get them, those 9 essential amino acids, and their ability to actually be absorbed is rated by a specific score called a protein digestibility corrected for the amino acid score, PDCAS. And the highest you can get is 1. And we make sure that when we have a protein-based product, whether it's through soy or through our milk and whey protein that's used in our Rebuild Strength, that it also has a PDCAS of 1.0. Here in the Philippines, we have certain products. In other countries, we have other products where we blend proteins. So some people, you're getting protein, it's going to be from quinoa. Well, that's great. Or it's going to come from rice. That's great, but you know their PDCAS scores are less than 27? You know, so we actually blend the proteins to get to that PDCAS score of 1. And that's something that the lay consumer, oh, I'm eating protein. Well, are you getting all the essential amino acids in a way that also can be digested at the optimal level? That's the kind of science we look at in the discovery of the product. Herbal tea is an example where we think about if we're not going to serve the leaf but extract the essence of the tea from the leaf, then the extraction process should be be through a more costly process of water extraction. A lot of times when you're working with teas, others may use an extraction process that isn't water-based. In fact, it's solvent-based with alcohol or other solvents. So these are just some very specific examples we'll talk about. Even in the area of aloe, we go through a special process of carbon filtration to take out any of the potential impurities, mainly aloin, that's found with aloe vera. And aloin can be a non-agreeable substance for your gut and make you have a laxative effect. Just some specific examples. Let me go to the next slide. And the next slide. So when we say made with care, we also have invested heavily in our manufacturing. It's actually considered world class in the testing that happens from our seed to feed, meaning we actually talk with the growers of the substances that the plants that are being used, for example in soy, all the way to its delivery. But there are many places where the breakdown of the quality can occur. One's at the time of harvest, but then there's at the time of processing. And then with temperature variations, we have actual temperature rooms where we're testing on temperatures, all the way till the delivery, because there could be temperature variation on shipping. We actually test all the way until we know that at every step of the way, when we pull a canister out and we then test it right before it actually gets to the consumer, we do random testing there too. So there's multiple testing, and that testing sometimes requires very sophisticated analysis. Again, at the cellular level, we use what is called nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. These machines are very expensive, but I don't know if you knew this, but nuclei in the food industry and in the pharmaceuticals, you can check based on the fingerprint through spectroscopy of how a particular substance looks. And so we have one of the most extensive databases of spectroscopy to detect for what is critically important, which is the next slide. And that is that the amount, the potency of that nutrient is actually present at the time of your consumption, and that there isn't anything else in the product, so there isn't any contaminants. That process takes a lot of quality investment, and so we made sure that that is present. So those are just some examples of what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, about the science behind the quality and how difficult that really is for a lot of companies to be able to deliver at this level of sophistication. So hopefully that gives you a flavor for it. And then of course we're going to talk as well about this is all great and good, but if the right food that you need for your diet to deliver your nutrients does not get delivered and consistently consumed, it does a little good. So we're going to talk about how we can be supportive of translating the knowledge of the quality to the actions we take in consuming, but embracing a more holistic lifestyle that looks at our nutrition as well as our sleep and our activity levels. And I'll stop there. Any questions from you all?